Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. A lot to talk about today in the world of NFTs. Going to dive into a huge Fidenza sale that happened, some new news in Chromie Squiggles, some really kind of weird behavior on Bored Ape Yacht Club on Blur, and a whole lot more. Let's get right into it. Starting off with a quick market overview. Volumes were up a fair bit, but this is not as good as it looks. Why is it not that good? Because more than 65% of the volume was Bored Ape Yacht Club trades, where sellers were dumping into bids on Blur, and the sellers were all from the Blend wallet. So why is that happening? There are a few reasons. The basic idea is that when you sell from the Blend wallet, for some reason, Blur charges 0% royalties. This makes it, normally it's half of 1%. But this makes it a lot easier to create a lot of volume, a lot of wash trading, which puts Bored Ape Yacht Club higher and higher on the volume charts. What does that do? It makes it so people earn more Blur points when they bid on Bored Ape Yacht Club and when they offer loans on Bored Ape Yacht Club. So you've just kind of had this cycle where there's just tons of trading among the same few wallets. They're bidding for Bored Apes, they're lending on Bored Apes, and you just get tons of points there. If you look at this chart here, this shows the median number of trades per Bored Ape per week. And you can see that the most recent week has already had 6 trades per Bored Ape, and it's only Wednesday. We're only halfway done, and you've already had 6 trades per Bored Ape. The other thing that happens, though, when you get a lot of dumping into bids, when you get a lot of wash trading, one of the things I have found is that you also see a lot of real holders saying, I don't want to be part of this, and dumping into the bids. What these blue lines look at here is the number of Bored Apes that hadn't been traded for 6 months, that basically had never been dumped into a bid on Blur before, that got dumped in by day. And you can see it yesterday, we had more real holders say, I'm done with this, selling to bids than have had for a very long time. Over the past week, there have been almost 40, and just yesterday there were 11 of them. Well, my view is that supply attracts supply too. When people see dumping, they tend to dump themselves. This is one of the reasons I think the Blur incentive structure has been a headwind for projects, is because you get bidders who just start bidding, people dumping in, other people see more of that happening and want to dump themselves. And it just but ultimately that just creates an overhang for the airdrop farmers who get stuck with all the supply. They need to exit, and ultimately prices go lower. So I don't think this is a great setup here for Bored Ape Yacht Club with all these new NFTs being dumped into these farmer bids. When you actually look at total volume that we've had excluding Bored Ape Yacht Club, it was the second lowest that we've had in months. So really kind of that high volume number, I think, was really just about the Bored Ape Yacht Club wash trading. In terms of prices, the large cap index was down about 1.1%, had some weakness in captains that drove it a bit lower. Mid cap index basically flat. Looking at art projects, of course, just a massive sale in Fidenza, and then another sale. So 2 sales in Fidenzas, but one massive one. We'll talk about that. And then a Gazers trade. Everything else did less than 10 ETH of volume. Let's look at that Fidenza. Sold for 625 ETH, number 545. This has the small lines, not micro, but small. And it's very similar to the Fidenza that sold on Sotheby's just a couple weeks ago. I put that one from Sotheby's on the right. You can see how closely they look. I heard that the person who bought the one yesterday actually was a bidder on Sotheby's. The one on Sotheby's sold for 560 ETH. This sold for 625 ETH. As far as all-time high Fidenza sales on chain, it was the 5th highest. These are the 5 that had sold higher than the 625 ETH sale. There also was one, I believe, off-chain that was at a seriously higher price, but on-chain, this was one of the top 5 sales that we've ever had. In terms of other big art block sales, there was that Gazer sale for 13.6 ETH. Really cool looking Gazer. A Genesis by DCA sold for 3.3. This was actually one of 3 Genesis by DCA sales yesterday. Then we also have here a mini pods by Pinder Van Arman, which sold for 3.3 ETH. And then a Fontana by Harvey Rayner Pattern.co for 2.83 ETH. So cool art block sales, but obviously that Fidenza is the highlight. Second thing to talk about, Squiggle sweaters and Squiggle mints. Squiggle sweaters, they're launching these with Tribute Brands. Again, trying to combine digital with the physical. Here's the tweet from Tribute Brand that went out a day ago. Launching tomorrow. This is their second project, an on-chain zero-waste generative sweater collab with Art on Blockchain. That's Snow Froze, Chromie Squiggle, and Waste Yarn Project. Let's dive into the details here. Basically, the Squiggle that you own is going to inform the design both of the sweater as well as the NFT. And that NFT is going to hold the instructions basically for creating future sweaters. Every single type of Squiggle, so bold, fuzzy, rib, hyper, etc., has its own unique stitch template in the sweaters. These are interactive, so you can change the colors and backgrounds on the NFT, just like you can do with a Squiggle. They're handmade by Waste Yarn Project. You can also generate and this is big. You can generate the sweater with your own Squiggle, or you can also have a new basically Squiggle design minted, which will create its own sweater. Now, if you have a Squiggle, there will be a symbol on the sweater that it was actually a real Squiggle used, but they're also opening this up. I think the goal here is to expand beyond just the 10,000 Squiggles, that most of which have been minted, and the few thousand Squiggle owners, to a wider audience. And then the last thing is that there's a chip on the sweater that will link you back to the actual NFT using the Tribute app. So a lot of really cool stuff. Here's a little bit more detail. You can look at, what basically this image shows you is all the different types of Squiggles corresponding with their sweater and the stitch template. So really cool stuff. I really like the hyper one, for example, here in the middle, second to the left. Some cool stuff with the pipes. Lots of really interesting kind of sweater designs based on what type of Squiggle you have as the input. Here is a model, definitely a really funky looking model, not gonna lie, with really weird facial expressions, but modeling a bunch of these sweaters. So that's pretty cool too. Just a little bit more on terms of pricing. The price is gonna be 0.3 ETH for Squiggle holders. That's tomorrow, or 0.33 ETH for non-Squiggle holders on Friday. So it is a punchy sweater. I mean, you're paying about $500 for the sweater as well as the NFT. Ideally, the NFT does retain long-term value, and and it also is an investment. About 999 supply. One other thing to talk about with Squiggles, Eric Snowfro announced also yesterday that he was minting 17 new Squiggles. And as we know, there are 200 Squiggles that have not yet been minted. Only 9,800 have been minted. This was always the goal, was to mint more over time. And he decided to give 17 to a handful of people who have been very helpful to him for inspiration, emotional support, contributors to Digital Art Universe, or contribute to Art Block ecosystem. So really nice gift to people, giving unminted Squiggles. These things are worth about $15,000, $18,000. So cool stuff. One of the big mints that happened was a hyper rainbow. So congrats to whoever flipped that. Of the 17, I think this was definitely the most interesting one that flipped. Recent sales for hyper rainbows have been in the 100 to 150 ETH range. So that is a seriously nice gift from Snowfro. Congrats to the owner there. Third thing to talk about, Louis Vuitton trunks. Louis Vuitton announced that they are going to sell trunks, basically NFT and physical trunk combinations. This is for 39,000 euros, about 41 to 42,000 US dollars. And this is the first time that Louis Vuitton has jumped into the world of NFTs by selling them. Here's one of the images included with that physical trunk. A little bit about it. There will be a few hundred physicals, or a few hundred supply. I don't think they have the exact number. Again, you get that physical trunk as well. And the basic idea here is that this is going to give you access to future products, the community, and services. So I think kind of like a pass that you can have for a long time to get access to LV stuff, events, who knows what. These are also soul-bound tokens. Pretty interesting element. They cannot be traded or transferred away. So that makes it very different from most of the NFTs that we have seen. Launches tomorrow on the Louis Vuitton site. So interesting stuff. Always good to see new luxury, high-profile brands get into the space. Lastly, let's talk about a few notable sales. We're going to start with two PFPs and then talk about two one-of-one art sales. Starting off with this kind of pretty basic punk, but messy hair, vaping, kind of looks like the average degen, I think. So this seems like what would have historically been a very desired, kind of not very rare, but pretty attractive punk. It sold for 62 ETH. Punk's OTC was the buyer there, so he's always getting a good deal. He only buys when the price is right. Second one, this Jack Butcher Opepen, one of four, sold for 30.69 ETH. This is the highest Opepen sale yet, and it's part of that original 80. And again, it's from the supply series where there are only four. I think when people want liquidity, I'm not sure it's going to matter as much with these original 80, how rare they are, as long as they're in that original 80, but still the all-time high for Opepen. So congrats to Jack, congrats to everyone involved there, 30.69 ETH. In terms of one-of-one sales, this piece, LSDigital by elrokk, sold for 1.35 ETH. elrokk has had a bunch, and sorry, elrokk, if I'm pronouncing this wrong, elrokk, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but has had a bunch of sales, kind of in that 3 to 7 ETH range. So a pretty prolific artist with a lot of work, but can't complain about a 1.75 or 1.35 ETH sale in this market. A little bit more about elrokk. He's a Malaysia-based artist, does indie comics, gaming titles, brand apparel, and NFTs, of course. So interesting sale to see there. And then lastly, this piece called All Your Bones Are Belong to Us by micalnoelson, sold for 1.2 ETH. Kind of just a really cool piece with kind of like painting and on that digital canvas. Here is a tweet from the artist thanking Deji D, who put in that bid in. He accepted it. Just appreciating everybody who's offered the support. A little bit about the artist. He is Berlin-based. He's British, however, works with paint, pencils, canvas, paper, computer, screens, and dirt. That's how he describes himself. There's one more piece in this series that is also available for sale, also for 1.2 ETH, if you like this art and you want the second piece. So congrats to the author, or to the artist, and congrats to the buyer there. That is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you have a great day. Give us a like below. Tell us what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back tomorrow and every weekday with another show. Have a great day.